What are the 5 big things that are going to influence markets in 2024? I'm joined by Baylee Wakefield. She's a portfolio manager on the MAF side, and she is going to help us out with this. Baylee, I've got 5 questions I'm going to ask you. They're pretty straightforward. They're kind of yes, no type answers, but hopefully you give us a bit more detail, or this could be a very, very brief update. Number 1, interest rates. So they were the big news story of 2023. All the chatter was about interest rates. Towards the end of the year, markets got pretty excited about the fact that we're going to see interest rate cuts in 2024. My question, are we going to see interest rate cuts, and when?
So yes, for most regions, we think that we'll see cuts, but I'll give you a little bit more information than that. So markets are currently pricing 6 cuts in the US, which means that interest rates will come down from 5.5% to around or below 4%, with the first cut being penciled in for March. We're also expecting to see cuts in UK and in Europe as well. But it's worth noting that Japan is different, and we expect to see an increase in rates and an end to yield curve control in 2024.
Wow, that is the Japanese one is a big one. We've talked about it before, but I mean that's 30 odd years of 0 interest rates, which may come to an end. So that is an interesting prediction. Okay, number 2, recession. So throughout 2023, I was reading about this recession that was due to come. It was always 6 months away, and then it never arrived. Will we see recession in 2024?
Globally, we don't think that that's going to be the case, or even if we did slip into recession, it wouldn't be particularly deep. We expect global growth to go from above 3% in 2023 to below 3% in 2024. And we think that rising wages should support household consumption, which will mitigate the impact of positive real interest rates.
Okay, so no major recession, hopefully. Number 3, the Magnificent Seven. So the 7 mega tech companies which absolutely drove returns forward in 2023. Are we going to see them continue to dominate?
Well, last year, on average, they were up just over 100%. And you need to be cautious when anything doubles in such a short space of time. It's fair to say that valuations are looking a bit stretched on these names, but over the past number of years, we've seen that these large tech companies can quickly grow to justify large valuations and high earnings expectations. But markets are very, very focused on these names. So earnings, they're going to be the key thing to watch in 2024.
Okay, so stay diversified is my key takeaway from that. Number 4, China. So we talked about this time last year. I remember there have been lots of chatter around China. They were coming out of COVID lockdowns. There was going to be this big bounce back in growth. The equity market was going to perform great, and it never quite materialized. What is the outlook for 2024? Are we going to see the Chinese bounce back that everyone expected?
We don't think so. We don't think we're going to see a big bounce back. Confidence remains weak in most areas across China. The property market is still in depression and dealing with a large debt overhang. Currently, the stimulus we're seeing is preventing a worsening in the economy rather than promoting an ongoing expansion.
Okay, so no big bounce back for 2024 in China. Finally, 2024, from what I'm reading, is due to be the biggest election year in history. So my question is, number 1, is that true? Is it actually the biggest election year in history? And secondly, what are the key ones to look out for? What are the key elections that will be moving markets, etc.?
Yes, it's going to be the biggest on record, with 50 countries going to the polls with a combined population of 4.2 billion, which I couldn't quite believe, and 7 of the 10 most populous nations all voting. In terms of what to watch out for, well, I'll be very interested in a UK general election, which will likely be called at some point this year, and there will potentially be one in Ireland as well. But for markets, elections generally mean uncertainty, which markets don't particularly like. In terms of the key ones to watch, unsurprisingly, it's going to be the US election in November. And I know, Shane, that you covered the Trump versus Biden race a few weeks back, and that's likely to remain a big story on the politics front for 2024. And Trump, currently, he remains marginal favourite at the moment, but it's early days, and don't be surprised if you see some other names come into the race.
Okay, interesting. So maybe not a Biden-Trump showdown. There might be some other names that come in. Okay, Baylee, that's been excellent. It's been a quick whistle-stop tour, but I think we've covered the key areas. So number one, interest rate cuts. Will we see them in the US, in the UK, in Europe? Yes. Number two, recession. Are we going to see a deep recession in 2024? We don't think so. Magnificent Seven, will they continue to dominate? Maybe. China, are we going to see a large bounce back? We're not so sure. We don't think so. And finally, is it the biggest election year in history? Yes, it is. And what's the big one to watch? Unsurprisingly, it's the US, and it is the election in November. Baylee, that's been excellent. We will be back next week. We will put a fund manager on the spot as always. Until then, take care.